Hello, everyone. It's us again with Felicia and Jen. And of course, this is part 2 of my talk with Rachel, and Jen is still not here. But I do have Liz. Say hi, Liz.
Hi, Liz.
So, question for you. We're talking about race and relationships, and the topic is, can they come to dinner? So, if your partner is from a different race, could you introduce them to your family?
Absolutely, I could. There's a different conversation to be had for a different time because I'm gay. So that was it's a completely separate issue and a separate way of thinking to grapple with for people. But I know that based on how they reacted to that and based on how they are with that, also just who they are as people, that I would be able to, especially my mom and my brother are my immediate family. And then my mom's parents, my grandparents are still alive, and I'm very, very close to them. My mom and my brother could care less who I brought home as long as they're good people, kind to me, kind to others, things like that. And I know that based on the fact that how they reacted to me being gay, how they've reacted to me throughout my life, how my mom acts around people. My mom raised me alone, and she taught me basically how to be a human in the world. And she taught me that by not directly by saying, this is what you say, this is what you do, this is what you don't do. I just watched her as a kid, how she moved around the world and how generous she was to everybody and how kind she was to everybody and how it didn't matter what color their skin was, how much money they had, where they were from, who they were, the way she treated everybody equally. I knew nothing but that. So I think that it's a situation where you can realize that racism is taught and that I was never taught it, and that the way I learned that it was a problem was in school through history and things like that, because growing up, it was never a thing. I have friends since kindergarten and preschool who are Black that my mom has always loved like family and still loves. My grandparents, who are like some of my best friends, I had to grow up learning through my mom that there's a certain age set of people.
When they grew up, how they grew up.
Where the things they do and the things they say it's just because of how they grew up. It's just because of what was
going on. Yep.
When they were young, and that's what followed them through their whole life. They are in no way racist, but they do and say things that they don't realize are inherently passively racist. And I'm the oldest daughter and the oldest granddaughter. I have a cousin who's 3 months older than I am. But I am by far loudly political, like the most in my family. And as I got older after college and stuff, and you become a full-grown adult and you feel confident and brave and things like that, I was able to not argue with them about things, but to say, hey, just so you know, that thing that you just said was a little bit racist and you don't realize it. And they are the most generous, kind, loving, caring people. But being told my whole life, like, oh, that's how they were. That's the time they were raised in. They, make comments in telling stories where they're like, oh, well, I was at a restaurant and this Black lady said this. And I'm like, well, before you finish your story, is the lady being Black relevant to the story? And my grandma would always be like, oh, yeah, it's relevant. And then when she gets to the end of her story, and I'm like, hey, just so you know, it was completely irrelevant that the lady was Black. And it's, and then they get frustrated. It's like, oh, well, I'm not trying to say any blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, I know. I'm just kind of teaching you, like, it feels like this generation is reteaching the older generation. Not like, I don't want to say the right way, but to me, it feels like the right way to think about those kind of things. Because in the same way that I grew up not knowing racism because of the way we were taught when we were kids. It's the same for them, where they grew up being segregated.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting because it proves that I think that your love for someone as like a friend or a family member or someone kind of forces them to rethink and to start to kind of question and challenge themselves, in that if I brought someone home that was Black and I was like, this is going to be the person I'm going to spend my life with, they would have to decide, it's like, is that an issue worth being like, well, I'm not okay with that versus not? I know they wouldn't. I know the kind of people they are. I know how much they love me. I know that I'm lucky enough that me and my immediate family are all on the same page politically. So I know that we're all.
Is there approval? How important is their approval to you?
It's very important. I don't bring a lot of people home to meet my family because I don't bring people to meet my family that I'm not like serious about. Especially as you get older, if you're dating someone, you're not like, you're dating with the future in mind. Well, at least for me, like, there are some people that don't feel that way, that will never, and that's totally fine, that like won't date for, a serious relationship, that won't see longevity in it, and that's fine. But for me, it's like, I'm not going to bring someone home to meet them unless I want them to know them. And because I know that I would like to know that person, like that I would like to be with that person.
What if they don't approve?
It's a hard question, because I think you want to say, well, if I love that person enough, it wouldn't matter. But like, I'm human enough to say that like my family means so much to me.
You're close to them.
That it would make me question it, because I know people that keep relationships separate from family. And I know that that's a hardship on both the relationship and your relationship with your family. And I moved back down here to be close to my family because I was farther away for a very long period of time. And especially with my grandparents getting older, I wanted to be closer to them for the time I had with them. And it's hard for me, as someone that feels lucky enough that has a very accepting family, a very understanding family, to just be like, oh, it doesn't matter. But like, it would matter to me. It would. And I mean, it also, there's such a range. Like, it would depend on how much they didn't approve.
What if it was just the fact that they weren't white?
It's like, this is maybe not the best thing to compare to, but I feel like it's relevant in today's political climate. It's like, I wouldn't date a Trump supporter. I don't think I'd be as close to my family if they felt that way.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I would have trouble with even my family members if they felt very different from me politically.
But you love them so much, and you would still be around them. You wouldn't say, you can't come to Thanksgiving dinner.
Right. And I feel like if that's how if that came out of nowhere, it would be a different story. But like, if that's how historically they had been, I think it would reshape my entire story. So
if you knew they weren't happy about other races, you wouldn't date someone from another race?
No, I'm saying if that's how they were, it would either if I was to my core the same person and strong in that belief, I wouldn't be as close to them.
Okay.
Or if I grew up under that guise of like, racism is fine and it's an okay thing to discriminate against other races, I would be a completely different person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I grew up here with my family. I went to school in Salisbury, so I was still really close to my family and came and visited often. Like, most of my friends still as an adult at this age are people that I grew up with. And so it's like, that would rewrite my entire story almost. It would force me to either not be as close to my family or to be close to them and probably be more like them if they were like that. Because like, my cousin, not recently, he's like 5, 6 or 7. that him and his wife at the time adopted a black son, and they didn't set out for that. They applied for adoption knowing that the possibilities were completely open, and they ended up with a black son, and they're white. And my family immediately knew, like, are my grandparents going to feel weird about that? Not, are they going to be mean about it, or are they not going to love him, but is it going to be like a little bit weird for them to be like, oh, well, he doesn't like look like, is he really our grandson? And they were great from, and you know, there's those times where we feel bad because we undercut the kind of people they are. Cause we're like, they do have that little bit of like, you know, is it going to be odd? Are they going to be like, well, is he black? Like, cause for us, it didn't matter. We just,
he's family now.
They picked a child.
Yeah.
We don't care. We don't even need to know. We don't need to know that aspect. Here's your son. He's great. But there's that old school way of thinking where it's like, is that the family? It's just like, for me, like, I didn't tell my grandparents for the longest time that I was gay because it's like, it's a challenge to their specific way of thinking. I always was. And I didn't like tell them that I was straight, but it just was an undiscussed topic. So for the longest time when they got chosen, I guess they got picked by the mother to take her son. It was like, do we tell them or do we not? Do we just like let it play out and see what it is, or it's not? And it was completely fine. And my other cousin, his sister, had a child naturally of their own. So he's white and he's genetically their grandchild. And there's those slight comments they make every now and then where they're like, they talk more about her than they'll talk about him. And we always wonder, is it a little bit because the child is ours DNA wise? Is it not? Is it the adoption part that's weird for them, or is it the race part that's weird for them? Because they are supportive and loving and always, no matter what, but it seems that they favor a little bit towards the second great-grandchild, and we also think that it could be because it's an adopted child, and that's a slightly foreign concept to them also of that time. So it's like a double whammy, but we're, you know, and it's hard as someone that grows up, I think, like in my time and in
Cameron, who just joined us,
to think that anyone would think like differently.
Your sponge is coming off. So Cameron just joined us, but it does sound like, Liz, that you do have a family that is more understanding and that y'all have such love for each other that even if you were to bring someone home that, who knows, they may not approve of it, but they love you so much that they want to see you happy.
Yeah.
That's awesome, because not every family has that. So Cameron, what I was talking to Liz about was, if you brought home a partner that was of a different race, is that acceptable in your family?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And is your family's approval very important to you?
I love my family, but
I heard that coming.
At the end of the day, if they don't approve of who I share my life with, then I don't really need my family's approval.
Now, would you still come around knowing that they may not approve? Would you still go to family functions? And would you bring the partner that they don't approve of?
I don't think that I would. If they don't approve of someone based solely on the color of their skin, that's horrible. So I would be exiled from my family. I would not communicate with them. I would not.
So do you think that, would they have to come to you? So let's take the race part out. I'll ask both of you. So what if it was just something about that person that they just didn't like?
Oh, yeah.
Are you going to investigate it? Or are you going to be like, okay, fine. You're okay that they're Black, Hispanic, Asian, Native American. I'm sorry if I forgot your race if you're listening. But what if they say there's just something about that person?
I think it depends on what the thing is, or if they're just in general being like, there's just something about them I don't like. Like if that's the statement they're making, then it's like, I think that you give it time to be like, maybe there is something, but it's worth figuring that out myself. But if they're able to be like, well, they're, really jealous or really controlling or really greedy, if they're able to point something out and be like, that's like a toxic trait that they have, then I think it's worth considering or worth at least having a conversation with them about, because that person better than they do, to be like, well, no, actually it's like blah, 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 or whatever. But if they're just in general being like, there's something about them, I'd be like, well, you gotta give me more than that. I'm not going off something.
What about you, Cameron?
I would say mostly the same thing. I mean, if I brought someone home to meet my family and they were my significant other and my family just said, oh, I don't like them. They dress weird or they talk weird or they just look weird. I mean, that's definitely not okay. But if they said something like, I don't know, something is off about them, or something to the fact of, oh, well, this person doesn't treat you well, or if they did some digging and they saw that.
And some families do that.
Especially in the state of Maryland Judiciary Case Search is a great tool.
Yeah, my mom is very familiar.
Well, are you two individuals that when you're in that relationship, you go hard for that relationship? So if your parents or family were like, listen, I love you, but that person you're dating, I'm sorry, they got to go. So are you two one of those people that when you love, some people say when they love hard. Are you two one of those people?
I think I love hard, yeah.
I would say based on my last relationship, that was definitely me. I gave it my all. I gave it 110%, but I would say future me, not so much.
Yeah, that's fair. Cameron's also Cameron's way younger than me. I'm 33. I don't know why I'm acting like I can't say it. I'm 30.
Own your age.
I'm 33. And I think that younger me would probably have a completely different, I think that I would be really reckless in that. This is my everything. I'm going to marry this person. In every relationship I've been in, I felt this way. But I think as you get older, you actually think about that. Mm-hmm. And you actually think about, I'm not going to be in a serious relationship with someone that I don't see a concrete, solid future with. So I think if I'm in a relationship at 33 years old, I'm giving it my all. And I'm looking at my family with I want them to feel that from me. And I would, I introduce them to them with the intention of I need you to know this person because I'm going to probably have a future with this person. And I would, in my current relationship, introduce my mom and my brother. And it just so happened that at the same time, my aunt, my cousin, my grandparents were all at my house. I introduced.
Let's just get it out the way.
Yeah, it was by accident, but it worked out conveniently. But I introduced them to my current girlfriend earlier probably than I think I might have in the past, just because I immediately felt like this was a very important person and an important relationship to me, and I need to know how you feel right away. And because that their approval does matter to me, and not so much as their approval, but because I love my family so much and I'm so close to them and I spend so much time with them that I want the next person in line that I feel that way about to feel the same about them. I want them all to be able to coexist. It's not even necessarily approval, but being able to coexist.
And so I think that's important because I think if your family really loves you, I think that you can come to your family about anything. The one thing I love about my family, is that you can come to them about something, because I was never told not to date outside of my race. I was never brought up like that. I was always told how the person treats you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Color never came up.
Exactly.
But one thing I love about my family is that you could have been on television in a car chase. Now they're going to tell you about yourself. You know that was wrong. You shouldn't have done that. But the unconditional love, especially my dad's side of the family. I love my mother's side of the family. I'm not saying y'all aren't loving, but my dad's side of the family, they are just so forgiving. Like, you could be so wrong and they're still going to say, look, what you did was stupid, but I love you. Mm-hmm. What do you need?
Yeah. Exactly.
That is them.
Yeah.
That is them. Like, and then the relationship that ended. And see, the thing is, I want to prove a point. Okay. Hopefully this works out.
Sorry, Cameron.
Was the person white or black that you just broke up with?
They were white.
See? You can have messed up relationships in your own race.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they probably are
Absolutely.
worse. I would argue
it has nothing to do with the color of skin.
Yeah. It's harder to, like, and again, this is like a completely different conversation for a different time that might make a great podcast topic, but it's like when, like, I think if you probably pulled up data, the worst or the least successful relationships probably are like straight white couples. And it's like when people bring up gay marriage and how much of an issue it is. And I'm like, our marriages last way more compared to the straight marriages. So it's like, if you look at it, it probably is way better for interracial. Like, if you look at, I don't know if either of you have watched Loving, the movie.
I've never heard of it.
I never heard.
It's about the first interracial couple.
Okay, I'm going to watch it.
Oh, is that the, was it Loving versus?
That was the court case. Yeah, this is and I'm sure there's really good documentaries and stuff on it, but there's a feature film on it called Loving, and it's like it tells their story about they were the first interracial couple and how that was literally illegal.
Wow.
At one point, and the first one was in Virginia, and it's really good. Yeah, it's really, really good and sweet and sad and everything. But it just, like, it's one of those things that you watch and you're watching it as a movie. And then you're like, no, that actually happened. People actually felt that way. Mm-hmm. And so it's weird because, like, Cameron and I grew up in a time where it was just, like, so far gone, but still, like, once you learn about it, you're like, oh, that's still kind of happening. Mm-hmm. Like, so it's not impressive really, because it shouldn't have ever been a thing, but you watch something like that and you're like, wow, we've come so far. And then you're like, you look around, especially in today's political climate, and you're like, never mind, we haven't.
But it's just, to me personally, it's interesting to sit back and look at the past 70 or 80 years and the things that have happened in history that were once deemed acceptable and how recent that was. A lot of that stuff just baffles my mind. So you were saying about the Loving case. So I'm unfamiliar with the movie, but I was familiar with the case. So that happened in 1967, 68.
Which is crazy for me because I'm like, that's the year that, sorry mom, that's the year my mom was born.
Mm-hmm. Same.
So it's like, and I've talked to my mom and I are very open, and she's very intelligent and well-spoken, and she's like, yes, in a sense, they were just moving out of segregation at a time when she was like entering school, but she's like, I didn't notice it. Mm-hmm. And I think that goes back to it being attributed to the kind of person you are, because if like, she's like, oh, well, it didn't faze me. Like, I had black friends. We went to school with black kids. Like, it just didn't, okay, like it was no different to me. Whereas there are people from that time and period that probably still felt like, and parts of our country probably at that point were still segregated. Mm-hmm. So I think so much of it matters as like just inherently who you are as a person and like the values that you hold.
And before they lock us out of the building, I have 2 questions, and then we're going to go because they're going to lock us in here. If you knew right now that you had the ear of everybody, every racist person, and and they're just like, I'm against this interracial love, what would Liz say to them? You have their attention.
Why do you give a fuck? Like, why do you even care? Like, it's no different than if, like, you say, like, I don't like ketchup. So it's no different to me than you coming up to me and being like, what the fuck is wrong? Like, why do you give a shit how I live my life? Mm-hmm. Why it affects you? If it affects you so much how someone else lives their life, you have got to be wildly unhappy in your own. I'm sorry. You are reaching for a reason to justify why you're so angry. You're like, I have hate inside my body, so everyone else must also feel that way, or I'm just insane. No, you are just insane.
Cameron, follow that. What would you say to them?
What I would say to them is, if you can truly look into yourself as a person and look into your heart and honestly say that you do not approve of a relationship or a marriage based solely off of a person's skin color, their sexual orientation, or anything off of the fact of judging them based how they are as a person and the things that they have done, then you need to really take a deep look at yourself. Because if you truly think that that is acceptable to judge someone based off of any of those things, you're a horrible person. And you probably are already living a miserable life, but it's going to get way worse for you if you have that mindset for your whole life.
Drop the mic.
Period, Cameron.
Drop, and he did. Sorry if y'all ears squeaking when he dropped the mic. These are new mics, and I don't even know what it sounds like. But you know what, though? I think that sometimes people are afraid to talk about real topics, things that are actually going on. So I thank you, Cameron. Thank you, Liz, and Rachel, who was on earlier. That y'all were willing to talk about it, and I appreciate that. And Jen, we miss you, and you need to come back. Well, you are coming back because I like she's going, but I'll see you tomorrow, Jen. But thank you all, and drive safe, and I'll see y'all tomorrow morning. Bye, everybody. No problem. Bye bye.